Tina Fordham is the founder of Fordham Global Foresight, and we are delighted to welcome around today. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. So many questions about Mr. Trump and his proaction in the first 100 days, but let's start off on this key issue which my read led us into, and that is Ukraine. We've seen, it's fair to say, extreme oscillation in the relationship between Zelensky and Trump, between Ukraine and the United States as well. How do you read the current state of affairs? And of course, over the weekend as well, we've seen some tougher language from the president towards Vladimir Putin.
Thanks, Steve. Wonderful to be here with you guys. I think we're seeing that President Trump is getting very frustrated. Remember that he promised peace on day one, and also that he really wants the Nobel Peace Prize. Vladimir Putin has never been in a hurry to make peace, and the circumstances really, play to Russia's advantage. The meeting at the Vatican, which has been so well covered, was fascinating because, 15 minutes, two men in chairs, locked in conversation, their first meeting, Trump and Zelensky, since that Oval Office showdown. What was said, we don't know. But just before that, the day before, Trump had said on Truth Social, Vladimir, stop, in response to the bombing of civilian targets in Kiev. The bottom line is, yes, both sides will tell President Trump that they want to make peace because that's what Trump wants to hear, but it's to Putin's advantage to keep the status quo as long as possible.
Everybody who's covered this, and I was actually on the ground in Kyiv the day the Russians went into Crimea, and it was 2014, so this war's been going on for 11 years as well. Everybody, and including geopolitical experts such as yourself, know that militarily it is a tall ask, if not impossible, to extricate the Russians from Crimea, and a tall ask to extricate the Russians from Kherson, Zaporizhzhia, Luhansk, and Donetsk as well. That said, the reality is that the Ukrainians, it's very difficult for them to admit this. It's very difficult for any Ukrainian leader to say, this is the status quo, and we're willing to accept that as well. But as part of a peace deal, do you think that is actually in reality what could happen?
Well, from a diplomatic perspective, it isn't the first time that territory has been in dispute. 85% of all conflicts in world history have been over territory. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about, bits of land, and surely we can come to an agreement, in fact, this is the root cause of most wars. So there are many ways to deal with the aftermath. A demilitarized zone is one of them, a North Korea type of solution. But partition is something which carries a lot of emotional weight.
It does, but very interesting you use the term demilitarized zone, because that is exactly what Vladimir Putin wants to create in the whole of Ukraine.
That's what he says he wants to create.
But obviously without NATO troops now. I mean, Ukraine has actually got
demilitarized for Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly. And the Ukrainians have actually got one of the best armies in the world at the moment after this vicious conflict of the last 3 years or so. Very difficult for the Ukrainians to accept that side of the bargain as well.
But let's put it in a different way. Most conflicts, we know what the parameters for resolution look like. We've known for decades what the parameters for resolving Israel-Palestine have looked like. It's getting the parties to the table. And yet we look every time with fresh new eyes as if there are no historical precedents. It's easy to start wars. It's hard to stop them. The terms of the negotiation mean everything for the precedent set elsewhere. And we just saw overnight China planting a flag, it appears, on another, an island that is sovereign territory of the Philippines. And so the implications of how Ukraine is resolved are wide and being watched by China and others.
I should say, probably just to give a caveat, the Chinese don't believe that it's sovereign territory of the Philippines as well. And so just for sake of balance as well, both sides have disputed this very small reef for a long time.